Thank you. I'm excited to be here today to talk about going from symptoms to root causes and root cause analysis using visual AI to address top HSE challenges. I think it's fair to say that no one wants workplace accidents. No one shows up at work planning to not go home safely at the end of the day. But let's be honest, today incidents still happen. We're not at that goal zero. And these are expensive incidents when they do occur. In addition to all the personal trauma of a workplace accident, there are significant direct and indirect costs to the company when a workplace injury occurs. Each industry and facility has their own costs based on a number of factors, but these are some general numbers that quantify the order of magnitude of these costs. And these numbers reinforce the fact that really, sooner or later, most businesses will unfortunately be faced with these costs. Despite investments that we all make in HSE, incidents remain. So why do we keep facing these incidents and what can we do about it? So that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about today. So as we start off the discussion, I want to bring up the human factor. And this is a term that we describe all the human-related variations that can impact safety. As you read some of these statements about the human factor, you can see it impacts all aspects of HSE management. Everything from unconscious bias and near miss and hazard reporting to distraction and missing a step in a critical procedure. Even failure to remember exactly what happened during an incident investigation can be considered a human factor issue. All these human factors create a number of challenges for us in HSE management. Starting off, the human factor impacts reporting for the number of leading indicators, and this is something we all rely on. For example, stop cards and all manual reports are subject to human factors. Unfortunately, this means that any data reported is going to be biased in one way or another and incorrect, and we won't know what's missing from it. Additionally, during incident investigations, you're also going to run into the human factor. People may not remember what happened or may be reluctant to report the actual hazards that led up to an incident because they may be embarrassed or they may not want to make their colleague look bad. Finally, when implementing controls, and let's be honest, many of the controls we implement are process or procedural-based controls that rely on people to correctly follow these procedures. This has two spots of possible risk for the human factor. First, the worker needs to be trained on the process, procedure, or control. And even if they are trained, they may have a mental lapse or forget to follow the procedures. And these factors can be compounded by fatigue, distraction, etc. As I'll talk about later, helping to cut through the fog and fallibility of the human factor is one of the great benefits of using visual AI for health and safety. A lot of people I talk to have specific operations or areas or tasks that are key areas of HSE concerns. Typically, this means that there's either a high likelihood of an incident occurring, which means frequent HSE incident costs, or they're high consequence areas that if an incident occurs, it will typically be a severe incident. And I wanted to share a few commonalities from these areas of focus that a lot of people talk about. And this is where the fog and fallibility of the human factor in HSE can be especially dangerous. The first one is complex or non-standard operations for that site or location. This can include things like installation commissioning, repair and maintenance work, or work that requires potentially close coordination from many different parties. These all have significantly higher incident rates than typical day-to-day operations for a plant or a site. And one of the common challenges with these operations is many of the controls either partly or fully rely on workers and employees following complex procedures to ensure their safety. And this may be workers that are not used to working closely together with each other. And this is also on top of demanding and challenging work that they are doing. Frequently, these complex operations are also under time pressure, and everyone's doing their best to try and do the job quickly, efficiently, and safely. This puts a lot of pressure on employees and unfortunately can lead to breakdowns of process controls that are subject to human failures. And this reliance on administrative or process controls for these activities, combined frequently with people not being familiar with the site or they're new to performing work on that site, can often lead to these operations having high HSE incident rates and high HSE costs. In other cases, there may be standard operations that occur all the time at the site, but there's a limited ability to use robust prevention methods like engineered controls, such as barriers or separation. One common example of this is people working around moving equipment or vehicles. I think we'd all agree that it's best to physically separate vehicles from people at all times, but frankly, that's not possible all the time. And many times people in multiple vehicles all have to work together in the same space. When this happens, there are very few engineered controls that can be implemented. Frequently, we have to rely almost entirely on procedural controls and awareness of our employees to maintain separation from the vehicles to prevent an incident. Unfortunately, when these incidents occur, and they do occur with over 7,200 forklift accidents in the US, they tend to be severe incidents. On average, these incidents resulted in 17 days away from work, and almost 40% of the people injured by forklifts are out of work for over a month. Frankly, this makes sense. Powerful, heavy machines that are very useful helping us get work done, unfortunately, can be very unforgiving when they come in contact with a person. The third common area that people often bring up as an area of concern is activities that are hard to monitor. These can be things like stepping in, lifting, and manual handling of items that happen in many, many locations and can be happening continuously throughout the day. There's no way that you can have an auditor or a supervisor monitor every single manual handling operation that happens everywhere in the plant. It's just not practical, not scalable. And since these activities are hard to monitor, we almost always 100% rely on human factor controls to stay safe. We can train people on safe manual handling procedures. We can discuss the importance of clearing obstacles out of walkways so no one trips in a safety meeting. But when one of these controls breaks down and things are left in the walkway or someone's not lifting safely, it's very hard to determine who, where, when these processes are breaking down unless an incident actually occurs. So it's very hard with historical methods to actually take preventive action to correct a breach in process or procedure before an incident occurs. And frequently, since these types of activities occur almost continuously, if hazardous conditions are not addressed, an incident will unfortunately eventually occur. And this is another area where visual AI can directly address a challenge by monitoring for these hazardous conditions and directly letting managers and HSE teams take targeted action before an incident occurs. By being able to target the training or HSE investment, is another benefit of visual AI. For example, if blocked walkways are only occurring in a specific shift or in a specific area, any training and follow-up can be very, very targeted to the highest risk areas or where those incidents are occurring most frequently to have the maximum impact. So instead of trying to cover everyone, half of whom may not really benefit from that training because they're already performing at the appropriate level and not having these hazardous behaviors, the training can be targeted and maximize its impact. And this allows us to do more with our limited HSE budgets or HSE training days that we have available. Coming back to the business case for HSE investment, we already spoke about the high cost of HSE incidents, and there's a lot of research on the ROI or return for investment in HSE. This ROI manifests in a number of different ways. Some are direct reductions in injury costs and claims that go straight on the bottom line. Others are indirect, such as impacts on employee morale or the ability to attract and retain the best people. I think everyone will agree no one likes working in an environment where their friends are getting hurt or they feel their personal safety is at risk. And this is supported by the research from the American Society of Safety Engineers. Additionally, investors often look at injury rates as a key factor for a company's ESG performance and expect worker safety to be a topic covered in sustainability reports, especially for high-risk industries. Going back to the financial returns, the direct financial returns, in fact, in a survey done by Liberty Mutual Insurance, the companies they work with reported that they saw returns of $2 or more for every $1 invested in injury prevention programs. However, this obviously depends on understanding and identifying where to target with these injury prevention programs. To take it to the extreme, simply buying extra PPE to the point where there are piles of hard hats sitting in a storage room isn't going to deliver any return. So how do you understand where to target the HSE spend to maximize ROI? You really need to have insights to the risks and unsafe conditions and actions that are happening. And fortunately, most of us don't have enough reportable incidents to only target that. So we need to look at the leading indicators of risk, such as hazardous behavior, hazardous situations, or near misses, to really understand how to best target our HSE spend and maximize that ROI. So let's talk a little bit about some additional HSE business challenges today. So like a doctor treating a common cold, HSE managers are tasked with measuring and treating symptoms. How many times has an HSE professional or a line manager been asked to address a specific problem in a specific location, frequently in response to an incident? And how often when addressing these symptoms did they really find that there's actually probably a deeper underlying root cause that really isn't being addressed here? Frequently, these HSE symptoms are caused by a set of business challenges that actually turn out to be very similar for most people. L&S Research surveyed EHS managers to identify their top challenges, and many of these challenges were around things like inefficient communication and limited corporate resources. These limitations in communications and reporting can make these challenges for larger high-risk industries such as manufacturing and construction even larger. And one common thread for most of these challenges is not knowing enough about the risks in the site. And let's look at a couple of examples. Lack of cross-functional collaboration. That might be manifesting itself as not being able to coordinate with others on the site to identify and manage the risks. Or teams are working in different areas, and the activities of one team might actually unintentionally be creating a risk for a team in another area. Maybe someone, for example, has pulled cables across a walkway to do work at one site, which then creates a trip hazard for someone that's doing work in that other area. Another big cause can be disparate systems and data sources. And this is really challenging with some of the legacy reporting systems that I've worked with in the past. I mean, sometimes when you have paper-based reporting, it can almost be a full-time job to just try and collect this data, especially from paper cards, and enter it into a digital system so it can be analyzed. But without these efforts to bring these disparate systems together, the HSE management and the line management is really not going to know what to change. And these are all places where visual AI can come in handy, supporting the management and HSE team by being their eyes and ears, looking for HSE risks from disparate or cross-functional teams, as well as constantly looking for HSE risks around the site and automatically reporting it and integrating that with their existing data systems, so you don't have to rely on trying to pull data from many disparate systems or even manual data entry into systems. Safety risk controls can take many different forms, and I'm going to talk about a few of the kinds that we use today, as well as the benefits of an AI HSE solution. First off, I'm pretty sure almost everyone's familiar with inspection, monitoring, or audits. These frequently rely on the experience and vigilance of individual employees to identify the risks and report them. This, of course, is dependent on an employee to be present and also is subject to the experience and the mindset of the employee. For example, an employee may become accustomed to working near material handling equipment that's moving and may no longer be aware of it as a risk, and may no longer be aware of the risks they are taking when a forklift comes too close to it, because that happens every day. They unfortunately become accustomed to it. Additionally, an audit is really only as good as the person doing the audit. And with lack of experience, which some of us face with having much more junior workforces today and having challenges hiring and retaining experienced people, relying on an experienced auditor can really result in audit risk controls having very variable outcomes. One site may have a good audit that identifies a lot of risks. Another site may, frankly, not have a great audit and they may miss a lot of risks. So you're really relying on the human factor to identify those risks, which, as we discussed in the beginning, can be fallible. So you see there's a lot of potential for human factor variations in these types of controls. Now, physical prevention or separation by physical barriers is great. When we can isolate employees from the hazard, that's almost always the best thing to do. However, they don't work everywhere. You can't put up fences keeping employees out of areas they need to work in. Some operations just physically don't support barriers because of what's happening. And in other cases, it's just cost prohibitive to fully enclose the space or to control access only during specific times. So physical prevention is great when you're able to deploy it, but let's be frank, We can't deploy it everywhere, and we have to have other controls that we use. Training and compliance. Now, training of employees is something that really should get applied in every company, but it is only part of the solution. Training of employees is a great way to remind them of hazards for the tasks and help them understand how to address these job hazards safely, but it needs to be targeted for the tasks they'll do, the hazards they face, and also the level of experience and competency that an employee has. If you have an experienced employee that is familiar with the hazards of the site, they work with them every day, and you run them through a site induction to point out those hazards, they may not get nearly as much from it as a new hire employee that's never seen those hazards before. One of the things that I want to underscore with training is that one of the numbers that frequently comes up is that new and untrained employees are often the most likely to get hurt on job sites. In some industries and companies, it can be as much as half of the injuries are with employees that have less than 1 year of seniority. However, with the breadth of all the possible hazards that are out there, all the different tasks that someone does, how do we know where to target our training? How do we train the part of the workforce that will benefit the most? And how do we get the most from the limited training resources? We all know that it's simply not practical to train everyone on everything for every part of the entire corporate risk profile. And it's most effective when it's targeted at employees that will benefit the most. Targeting this training is a place where AI-supported HSE solutions can really help, because they'll help you identify the hotspots and that will benefit the most from the training because they're exposed to the risk or they have the most hazardous behavior. So let me talk a little bit more about the AI HSE solution directly. So an AI HSE control solution provides a number of benefits. A visual AI-based prevention can actually be a control or an upgrade to a procedural control to almost the level of an engineering control by integrating with equipment to automatically provide feedback. As soon as the visual AI detects a dangerous behavior, a hazardous behavior, it can automatically provide feedback, such as sounding an alarm or a buzzer, or even automatically stop equipment if there is someone not following a critical procedure and they're potentially putting themselves or others in a position where someone might be very badly hurt. For example, if someone approaches a machine running without a safety guard on a chain drive, visual AI could integrate with that machine to stop it, to keep the person from potentially putting their hand or getting trapped in the chain drive of that running machine. The next benefit from an AI-based HSE solution is actually safety prediction. We all know from triangle theory that for every reportable incident that you have, or every time someone gets hurt, there's at least 10x, frequently more than that, number of near misses or less severe incidents. And by getting complete comprehensive visibility into the HSE risks and the near misses on your site, you very quickly and easily see these leading indicators of risk. And once you see comprehensively, without reporting bias, these leading indicators of HSE risk, it's very easy to predict the recordable incidents that you'll face if no action is taken to mitigate these risks. And therefore, it's very easy to see what action you want to take and is going to give you the most benefit to take to mitigate those HSE risks at your site. Another benefit of an AI HSE solution is it runs 24/7. AI is able to monitor continuously. And even in cases where you do have manpower to monitor a high-risk task or an area, studies show that people are actually very bad at these sorts of vigilance tasks. After less than 20 minutes, most people are generally ineffective for looking at hazards on a video screen. While AI is able to do this 24/7 without any rest, without any drop in performance. One question that sometimes comes up is employee privacy or compliance with privacy laws. And it's a fair question to ask. People are sometimes sensitive about being watched while they're at work. And let me assure you that visual AI can be configured with an anonymization feature that automatically blurs faces and name tags. And not only does that simplify compliance with data privacy laws, but it also really supports a no-blame safety culture. When it's set up like this, the system and the AI is able to see that an unsafe action occurred, but the identification information of anyone involved in that unsafe action is removed. So even if someone wanted to, there's no way that that could be used to identify the individuals involved. And in fact, visual AI safety solutions today are used in facilities with unions, as well as in countries that have very strict privacy laws such as GDPR. An additional benefit of an AI-based safety system is there's basically no limit to the number of things that it can monitor at the same time. You know, if you ask me to look at a couple of things, one thing, no problem. Look for two things, I'll do my best. Three, maybe we're starting to push it a little bit. But an AI safety system can literally monitor hundreds and hundreds of tasks all at the same time, and they can be tasks and activities in different areas, and we can also monitor them for different things. We can use the AI to monitor for risks, for unsafe behavior, for hazardous situations, as well as looking for other things that may be not necessarily directly related to safety, but also very interesting to monitor as well. Maybe we want to look at turnaround time measurements or equipment utilization. That can all be looked at the same time, which really, because we're giving all these insights with an AI-based safety system to all these different stakeholders, it really maximizes the benefit that everyone gets from the system. And since visual AI can frequently work with your existing camera system, because it sits on top of those existing camera systems, it really allows you to increase the value you get from that already existing infrastructure investment. And this can really help the business case. You don't have to rip and replace cameras. You can actually leverage that existing investment with an additional add-on system on top of it. You can actually increase the ROI to the company from that existing investment. So let's talk about how visual AI prevents, prescribes, and documents automatically. And as we've talked about, and a lot of you guys have seen firsthand, it is difficult to detect and record every single unsafe act and near miss. And I'll talk a little bit about what that might happen and how visual AI can overcome some of those challenges. You know, some of the reasons that we may not capture near misses can fall basically into two different categories: human constraints, and data processing constraints. Human constraints or human factors that we talked about earlier can be cases where the risk is not identified or it's intentionally missed. And process data constraints are just where it's not possible or practical to track. To talk about that a little bit more, some of the human factors can be things like complacency. Maybe the risk has existed for some time and maybe people have reported it once or twice, but it still exists there today, and so people become used to it. So maybe people are used to working under suspended loads all the time, so unfortunately they no longer perceive it as a risk anymore. Or perhaps there's a concern about blame or loss of productivity to stop and manually report an unsafe condition or a near miss. Now, on the process side of things, there may be frequently hurdles that are involved with many of the current risk reporting processes. A lot of them require people to stop what they're doing and use a device to make a report, or even go fill in a paper stop card. How many times have people said, oh, I'll just report that later at the end of the day, and by the end of the day they moved on to something else entirely and forgotten to report the hazard. So it doesn't get captured, it doesn't really get reviewed, there's not really any ability to do root cause analysis, and really no ability to update the risk profile and respond to the risks based on that. Now, with an AI-enabled process, unsafe acts or near misses are automatically recorded. There's no change over time as if people become accustomed to those risks. The unsafe actions and conditions continuously do get reported. And because they're being reported by an AI, that system that can automatically integrate with many types of reporting databases, those can nearly instantly and automatically notify managers of trends and be combined with existing data sources to enhance the visibility of the risk profile of the site. So I want to take a minute to talk a little bit about what visual AI is. And visual AI is a term that sometimes frankly gets misused. So I want to talk a little bit about what visual AI is at Spark Cognition. Visual AI is a deep learning technique that combines neural networks and machine learning pipelines to train AI systems to understand the context of the scene. It's not just looking for a specific object, but it's really about understanding the context of the scene, what's happening, and what's going on in that scene. We use a number of techniques, including video analysis, where multiple frames of video are analyzed together, so AI can determine insights such as where a person is headed, are they standing near a machine or walking towards it. This is key for many HSE applications. You don't want to know just what is in the scene, but what are these people doing? Where is someone moving to? Is someone standing next to a machine, or are they about to put their hand into it? Is someone under a suspended load, or are they standing off to the side? Additionally, these object-based AI pipelines minimize the reconfiguration needed when a scene changes or a camera deploys to a new location. This technology really makes it easy to scale out visual AI across a site, because you don't have to retrain custom models for each new camera or each new site or each new location that you go to. So let's talk a little bit about some of the benefits of a visual AI safety system. Visual AI benefits HSE programs by creating site-wide monitoring, reporting, and measurement. This in turn reduces the burden on your employees and line managers with simplified HSE program improvements. By automating near miss and unsafe act reporting, workers can really focus on their work and be less concerned about paperwork. And also with integration, if unsafe acts are deemed risky enough, engineering controls can be put in place to halt the process, keeping workers safely, potentially avoiding an incident where someone actually gets hurt. Because HSE managers choose the types of alerts they want, they will only get alerts of incidents that need immediate attention, unsafe lifting techniques, or working at heights without a harness. Automated tracking, record keeping, and reporting are the foundations of HSE program improvements. The reporting system tracks incidents over time and at specific locations. This allows managers to target individuals, certain shifts, or areas with training that is customized to their incident profile and the risk profile that they have at their site. And after training, supervisors can track the benefits of that training by looking at the reduction in near incidents or hazardous behavior to measure a program's effectiveness. So now let's quickly talk about enhanced safety procedures and reducing the burden on employees with visual AI. So this is an example of visual AI reducing the burden on employees by catching unsafe conditions and discrete unsafe acts. For example, considering a food processing facility that may have spillage. If the spillage is not cleaned up quickly, it creates hazards for slipping or tripping for people working in the area. And notifying the proper employee that there's a spill and that it has been there for a certain period, it needs to be cleaned up, historically used to be a manual process. However, with visual AI, this can all be automated, and routine housekeeping can continue, but a worker can be notified, and notifications can be escalated if there's an additional need. Not only does this eliminate the potential for employees to not know who's responsible perhaps for making a report or who should be following up on it, it just takes load off the employees so they can focus on their productive tasks throughout the day. Additionally, since these unsafe conditions are now systematically and automatically captured with the AI, trends can be examined and trouble spots quickly identified. Perhaps there's a poorly adjusted piece of equipment that is resulting in a high spillage rate in a specific area. And with visual AI, this can become quickly apparent. So more generally, this brings us to the AI-enabled approach to visual analysis. The traditional method is what I followed when I was working in industry, where we had cameras installed, but frankly, we didn't watch them. Everyone was too busy, and everyone had other demands on their time. And even when someone had time to watch the camera feeds, often after a few minutes, they'd no longer be able to pay attention. They get pulled away to something else. And really, it wasn't effective to identify hazardous situations. And this really meant it was limited to being a retrospective tool, and we weren't really able to take any corrective action before incidents happened, or we weren't able to use the data to build a comprehensive risk profile for our site. Now, with the AI-enabled approach, the AI can monitor the camera feeds 24/7 and monitor critical areas, hazards, assets, etc. And the insights captured by the AI get displayed on a dashboard, or for essential items, as we discussed, alerts can be sent to critical stakeholders, line managers, supervisors for real-time follow-up, or even trigger alarms on the site, a horn, a flashing light if something needs to be addressed, if someone's in danger, or even potentially stop equipment if someone's about to do something that could get them very hurt. So AI can bring a lot of benefits to operational HSE, acting as the eyes of the machinery and bringing a new level of process automation. But this system as well is really meant to work with existing safety reporting systems in place today to maximize the benefit. So how does this integrate with your existing workflows? So you can see here that the AI can work with your existing reporting workflows, integrating the reports from vision-based observations with existing safety reporting systems, with existing audits, with existing hazard analysis and safety analysis that have been done, really to help you enhance the risk profile of your site and monitor the improvements when you take mitigating actions to reduce the risk profile at your site. So let's talk a little bit about how Visual AI can inform HSE initiatives and how we can maximize our HSE investment and effectiveness. So when you have automated reporting of risks, all those incidents or potential incidents get reported on a dashboard. And outside of incident prevention, one of the most significant outcomes for HSE managers is automated reporting. This means that you don't necessarily have the constraints of manual or reliant on human reporting processes. Frequently, it'll free up people's time, as well as allow you to aggregate data from many different sites. This gives you a view of the facility's overall health and safety profile. For example, in this example, if you have people that are deviating from the walkway too frequently, or people that are too close to operating equipment too frequently, it can identify sites that are key hotspots and then allow HSE management, line management to collaborate with the workers to improve the safety programs at the site. This all helps reduce the time of audits, inspections, or investigations because the data is already compiled for you, so you can really focus on remediation and where you're going to get the most benefit. Another benefit is taking a targeted approach to training, controls, and supervision. KPIs and metrics can be created to view individual and site performance. Comparisons can be made to determine certain employees and groups' strengths and risks. If you see a shift getting more alerts for vehicle safety or unsafe lifting, you can address that shift-specific problem. And you can also even award employees that have the safest behavior. So over time, there may even be changes in this risk profile, and if there's an increase in unsafe acts over time, you can quickly investigate, identify the root causes for that, and address them. This way you can perhaps deploy well-timed and targeted training before an incident actually occurs and prevent that incident from even ever happening. Something else AI-enabled systems can do is they can be deployed to monitor unsafe conditions. And when they get deployed to monitor unsafe conditions, it's common to see actually an increase in visible hazards, because all the hazards that maybe weren't getting reported because of capacity constraints or other constraints around reporting all of a sudden are visible. You see a spike in reports. And this isn't due to a change in risk because Visual AI was installed. It's really due to the more accurate tracking of near misses and other leading risk indicators. And what we see is that actually once you have that visibility, the AI system can provide immediate coaching and feedback, especially when given to frontline managers, supervisors, and HSE teams, allowing that risky behavior to be reduced. It's a really powerful tool for training and corrective action. You can see in this case here that within a couple of weeks, they had gone from a high level of nearly 100 incidents of hazardous behavior to over a 50% reduction simply within a couple of weeks, using Visual AI to allow the supervisors and HSE managers to target trouble spots for hazardous behavior. So today I've talked about the health and safety benefits of Spark Cognition Visual AI Advisor. However, it can deliver insights and guided actions in various categories, including security, productivity, situational awareness, and visual inspection. Although these areas aren't really the focus today, they can help when selecting and deploying a system. When many stakeholders can benefit from the same system, it can actually help share the cost, improve the ROI to the company, and help build support for deploying new technologies and systems in the site. Spark Cognition Visual AI Advisor sits on top of existing cameras, essentially converting them from a largely reactive tool to one that is much more proactive and can help reduce incidents before they occur. In addition to Visual AI specific solutions, Spark Cognition has a wide range of AI expertise across its product portfolio, allowing us to take nearly any data source and use it to provide outcomes for a range of critical business problems, from HSE risk to asset useful life, providing benefits across the entire enterprise. As a little bit about Spark Cognition. So we are an AI software company that has been developing AI solutions for industrial customers for about a decade. with nearly 200 patents on AI methods and technology that we've created in that time. One of Spark Cognition's major clients is Boeing, and we help them with several solutions to predict future outcomes and manage risk. They are benefiting from the technology and seeing how what we do can help them revolutionize what they do. So just in summary, the 5 steps to get from symptoms to root cause analysis with visual AI are: first, deploy a visual AI system to automate reporting and identification of risk. Then track and uncover your patterns of unsafe acts and near misses, your leading indicators of risk. Next, analyze the trends and patterns in those incidents to identify hotspots or key areas and times of risk. Then address these hotspots with targeted training and controls that really allow you to maximize the impact from your HSE budget and your HSE training effort. And then finally, continue to monitor and quantify the reduction in your leading indicators of risk and incident rates to continue to target your training and HSE reduction methods to maximize their impact. Thank you all for your time and attention today. I see we've got a number of questions that have come in. Okay, so the first question is, what skills and expertise do my employees need to support visual AI in my facility? That's a great question. And when people talk about AI, a lot of people immediately start thinking, do I need to have experts on AI? Do I need to have programmers or data scientists for that? And absolutely not. For this product, basically, it's designed with a graphical user interface so that anyone that can use Excel or Microsoft Word can support this product. There's a graphical user interface that with drag and drop controls to allow you to configure the use cases, to allow you to drill down into the dashboards, the insights of the hazardous behavior and the risk profile by each location. So you really don't need specialized expertise in your facility to support visual AI with this product. The next question is, what other system integrations benefit from visual AI? So there are a huge number of systems that potentially can be integrated with visual AI, but I'll talk about kind of the 3 main categories of these systems. The first is the systems on the edge or on the site that may receive the alerts immediately to take action on the plant floor or the shop floor. So these can be things like horns, buzzers, flashing lights, or even equipment control systems that may integrate with visual AI to receive the alerts and take action immediately, basically using visual AI as an engineering control. The second system that can benefit from an integration with visual AI is a video management system. Visual AI does not record the videos. All it is doing is processing the video streams and identifying the hazardous behavior in it. But some customers do like to integrate that with their video management system, so they have all that recorded, combined with the video recordings if they want to go back and review video recordings in more detail. And then finally, the third type of system that visual AI is frequently integrated with is a EHS or health and safety reporting system. And this isn't necessarily just a health and safety reporting database, although that can be done, and that is something that's commonly done, where visual AI, when it generates a report for a hazardous situation or a hazardous condition, for example, someone was too close to a moving forklift vehicle, that report, while automatically generated with visual AI, it may also be automatically generated within the corporate health and safety reporting system. And that report would be completely populated with the details of where that incident occurred, what time it was, and even an anonymized thumbnail image of what the AI actually detected at that time, so they can see, well, how was the forklift or the vehicle approaching the person, how are they interacting together, and really that can become part of your normal safety workflow. And in addition, in EHS safety reporting systems, you can also use it as a way to integrate with, for example, your permit to work system. For example, the visual AI system may be looking for any unauthorized fires or hot work in an area, but if you have an electronic permit to work system that's integrated with visual AI, it can know that hot work is permitted in this specific area, Therefore, it shouldn't raise an alarm if hot work is seen, but anywhere other than that, an alarm would be generated. Have you deployed Visual AI, and what successes have you seen? Yes, so we've deployed Visual AI for a number of customers, and they've seen a lot of success with the system. It's been deployed in over 17 countries for over 100 different customers with over 100,000 cameras under contract. And we've seen successes from everything from improved turnaround time, productivity, as well as reductions in hazardous behavior and reductions in incident rates. One great example that I mentioned earlier is there's a customer that had a problem with people not following safety procedures, and we're having a high rate of incidents related to that. Within 2 weeks of deploying Visual AI, they saw over a 60% reduction in the rate of hazardous situations caused by people not following these specific safety procedures, which then resulted in lower risk for the site and obviously much safer operations and lower HSE costs. Next question, how do you protect the privacy of my employees and my company data? Now, that's a great question. So in addition to the anonymization that we talked about earlier, Visual AI does not actually store any of your video data. It's only processed, and that processing actually happens on your site. So there's no need to transmit the data off your site. It's not getting transmitted to the cloud. All that processing happens at your site on an edge device. Additionally, all the communication from that edge device up to your corporate dashboard is obviously encrypted with the current state-of-the-art encryption technologies, and access to Visual AI Advisor is password controlled with role-based access controls, so someone can only have access to perhaps their specific site, their region of responsibility, with the level of access that's appropriate for their role, be it the ability to view alerts, the ability to edit alerts, the ability to change configurations, all depend on what they need. How does the system affect the behavior of my employees? That's a great question. And I would say what the system does is the system enables your employees and line managers to make safer decisions and be safer throughout the workday. Except in cases where the system's directly integrated with alerting devices such as buzzers and flashing lights, the system isn't frequently actually altering the behavior of employees. But what it is frequently doing is enabling employees and managers to have really great targeted discussions on hazardous behavior and risks, so that their behavior will change to take fewer risks, to generally be safer in the workplace and have more positive outcomes. What is the accuracy of Visual AI? That's a great question, and there are a couple of things that impact the accuracy of a Visual AI system. One is obviously the camera system, and for the AI to see something, it's got to have enough pixels on it. It basically, if a human can't see what's happening when looking at the video frame, the AI is not going to be able to pick it up either. But assuming that the camera does have sufficient resolution to detect and see what's happening in the scene, generally Spark Cognition Visual AI solutions are all 98, 99+% accurate for those solutions. How does it deploy? So that's a great question as well. So there are a couple parts of the deployment, and we have a professional services team that supports the customer through the deployment and setup of the software. So the Visual AI Advisor deploys on an edge device or a server that that'll sit at the site and connect into the camera systems. Once that's set up at your site, the Visual AI Advisor software gets deployed on the edge device. It gets configured remotely by our team, and then you're given access to the dashboard to see the alerts that are coming in. And then you can also, at that time, validate the behavior of Visual AI Advisor, potentially by simulating some alerts. And you can see that it's working for your system, for your situation, and then you'll have the dashboards up and running, and they can be rolled out to the wider team. How do I use Visual AI in my day-to-day? it is important to integrate this into your workflows. And it can be integrated into your workflows in a number of ways. It can integrate into your existing incident reporting, incident review workflows. It can notify employees in real time with alerts and buzzers, or even alerts pushed to mobile devices. And also it can help you just be more efficient in your day-to-day because you know where you need to focus to have the maximum impact with your targeted HSE efforts, because then you can focus on the highest risk spots of your sites, your plants, and really maximize the benefits of your work on the day-to-day. What challenges have you encountered working with customers using Visual AI? One of the biggest challenges with Visual AI will sound a little straightforward, but it's really coming up to cameras. And that's one of the things that we see with customers where they'll start deploying Visual AI with their existing cameras. And then they realize, oh, well, we'd really like to get some more coverage. We'd like to see what's happening in this part of the plant or monitor this facility over here, but they don't have cameras there. So without existing cameras in place, it does take a little bit of time for the customer to put in new cameras to then be able to scale out Visual AI to all the sites that they want to. How does this system work with outdoor environments like construction sites? I would say it works well in outdoor environments like construction sites. Weatherproof or hardened cameras for outdoor environments are readily available. They're frequently easy to mount, even if it's a semi-permanent installation on just with a clamp on a pole. And then the data can be then processed by the edge device, which will frequently sit in like a construction trailer or in a container. And then because the processing is all done at the edge, you don't need a high bandwidth connection back to your main servers or back to the cloud to transmit all the alerts. So you can even if you only have a cellular connection off-site, you can transmit the alerts back to the dashboard via a cellular connection, and you don't have to try and stream full video. So it works really well at outdoor sites. We have a number of deployments at construction sites, outdoor sites for applications like vehicle monitoring, parking lot monitoring, etc. Okay, I think that's all the questions we have today. Really appreciate everyone's questions and really enjoyed this webinar today to talk to you about Visual AI.